Now that the troublesome situation has passed, we can relax and enjoy ourselves. He whispered these words to his niece's ear. The cause of the trouble was none other than his daughter. I had to leave home abruptly for a business trip. Despite my concerns about being away from my daughter for several days, John reassured me and bid me farewell, urging me to go in peace. My daughter and John usually spent quality time together, so I felt at ease leaving her in his care. However, recently, my daughter's behavior had taken a peculiar turn. In hindsight, I should have delved deeper into these feelings. "Mommy, don't go to work." My daughter clung to my leg, reluctant to let go. Unfortunately, I failed to recognize her desperate plea for help. Feeling like a failure as a mother, little did I know that John would lock my daughter in the storage room and embark on a trip with his niece. Forgiving John for the irreversible harm he caused to my daughter and niece is something I can never do. My name is Sherry. I married John the same year I became pregnant. Our daughter, Samantha, is now 5 years old. Our paths crossed through a common friend's introduction, a rather ordinary occurrence at the time. John, who had a fondness for children, worked at a toy manufacturing company, while I had just been chosen for a work project. Despite being engrossed in our respective careers, marriage was not on our minds. However, upon discovering my pregnancy with Samantha, everything changed. Having the baby meant taking a maternity leave and facing potential sidelining from the project. Witnessing similar situations at my workplace, I felt disheartened about my professional future. Yet John consoled me, expressing his willingness to quit his job and become a full-time stay-at-home dad. He had taken his current job with the hope that our future kids would play with the toys he helped create. John had already played a role in developing several products, some of which were already on the market. His dream was for me to fulfill my potential. These words prompted me to decide to have our daughter. I explained the situation to my company and returned to work 3 months after giving birth. Despite a slight gap, I managed to stay on the project, gaining valuable experience. Returning to work so soon after childbirth was challenging, but the thought of John and Samantha waiting at home fueled my determination. Currently leading a newly launched project, I strive to leave work on time by working remotely during weekdays. Although weekends, work, and business trips are sometimes inevitable, my daughter remains supportive, encouraging me with strong words. The concept of a full-time stay-at-home dad was not fully understood by society. But as a family, we harmonized our roles, leading to a happy life. One day, my sister-in-law discussed her divorce with us. Her husband, 10 years her senior, had frequent clashes due to differing opinions. The final straw was when he raised his hand against her. The divorce brought relief to my sister-in-law, who no longer had to witness her daughter Lily cry. Lily, an 11-year-old, had experienced the violence firsthand, prompting the decision to divorce. John, with his usual sense of humor, offered support, jokingly saying, "If you ever need anything, just say the word. I'm always home." Although it brought laughter, we nodded in agreement with John's sentiment. His words played a crucial role when John decided to quit his job and become a full-time stay-at-home dad. It's not about being a man or a woman these days. Whoever can do it should. Without my sister-in-law's support, we might not have maintained a good relationship with our in-laws. Our happiness owes part of its existence to her. Expressing gratitude, she mentioned considering a move to our neighborhood. We welcomed the idea, ensuring her that it wouldn't be a bother. Facing the need to leave the rental apartment shared with her ex-husband, she pondered returning to her in-laws' house an hour away. However, this would complicate her commute, and Lily would have to change schools. Fortunately, our house was within Lily's school district. They found a vacant apartment nearby and decided to move in. Suggesting that we look after Lily after school until her mother finished work, John and I agreed. Despite my sister-in-law's initial concerns about being overprotective, our proximity allowed us to keep a close eye on Lily, making John's role vital in the process. With Lily in our care during her mother's working hours, we began a new chapter in our family life. Living nearby, my daughter and her cousin quickly adapted to the routine. Initially, everything seemed to be going smoothly. However, my daughter's sudden resistance to being apart from me raised questions. Accustomed to seeing me off to work from a young age, I assumed she was comfortable with the routine. Was she feeling lonely, or was there another source of anxiety? Puzzled by her behavior, I attempted reassurance. "Mommy's just going to work. I'll be back tonight." Despite my attempts, my daughter clung tighter, revealing her inner turmoil. Concerned, I discussed the situation with John, who optimistically suggested that perhaps something happened at preschool. Assuring me that Lily's presence would provide comfort, John believed they might share secrets and alleviate any concerns my daughter had. Hoping this was the case, I refrained from pressing my daughter for answers. My daughter and Lily formed a close bond, with Lily treating her like a little sister. Observing their camaraderie, I believed my daughter's behavior was a passing phase. As my workload approached a lull, I planned to take leave and spend quality time with my daughter soon. However, unexpectedly, a business trip arose, requiring my absence for 5 days. Despite concerns, John's reassuring words encouraged me to proceed with the trip. Packed and ready, I left home 2 days later, with Lily visiting at the time. John, my daughter, and Lily saw me off with smiles. Little did I know that, at that very moment, events were unfolding at home beyond my expectations. John, exhibiting signs of departure, raised anxious questions from Lily. "Isn't Samantha coming with us?" John, to ease Lily's worries, fabricated a story about Samantha joining me on the business trip upon my return. Convinced by the tale, Lily accepted the explanation, and John directed my daughter to find a non-existent item in the storage room before my return. Samantha, believing her father's words, ventured into the storage room. Unbeknownst to her, John closed the door from the outside. Oblivious to the unfolding situation, my daughter did not notice the door being shut. John, muttering about the nuisance being gone, left with Lily for their trip, unknowingly leaving my daughter trapped in the storage room. Upon John's return 4 days later, he cheerfully chatted with a saddened Lily. Blissfully unaware of the events in his absence, John was shocked when he saw the storage shed and remembered he had left his daughter behind. Panicking, Lily rushed to the shed, where an unidentifiable liquid seeped out from under the door. John, attempting to stop Lily, confessed the truth about leaving Samantha behind. Lily, in shock, tried to open the shed door, only to be halted by John. The revelation left her devastated. The realization that Samantha was left in the shed, contrary to what John had assured her, prompted Lily to blame him. John, trembling and admitting his mistake, faced Lily's accusations. Witnessing this, I finally spoke up, questioning John's actions. My voice, cold and filled with anger, sent chills down my spine. Even my daughter, standing beside me, mirrored the intense emotions. John, turning around to face us, was frozen in shock. "Sherry." Contrary to John's astonishment, Lily burst into tears upon seeing Samantha. Hugging Samantha tightly, Lily expressed relief that she was safe. Samantha, avoiding eye contact with John, reciprocated Lily's embrace. I couldn't help but wonder about the emotional toll these events had taken on the innocent children. I stood protectively in front of my daughter Samantha and niece Lily, yet John showed faint concern. "I'm glad you're safe," he muttered towards Samantha. "Glad she's safe after you left her behind." "What are you saying now?" "Samantha said she wanted to be with you." "And why are you here, Sherry? Weren't you on a business trip? You were supposed to return tomorrow." "Oh, so you thought you'd be back before I got home. Could it be that you often leave Samantha like this when I'm away?" John fell silent at my words. His silence was more affirming than anything else. I've already heard the story from Samantha. I'll be hearing it from Lily as well. Turning to Lily, who was still embracing Samantha, she met my gaze firmly and nodded as if she had made a decision. The fact that I was able to rescue my daughter Samantha was a stroke of sheer luck. The thought of what could have happened if my business trip dates hadn't changed sends shivers down my spine. On the day I was supposed to leave, I indeed boarded the Amtrak. However, I received a sudden notification that the trip was canceled. So I got off the train mid-journey and returned home. Since the trip was called off, I could return home directly, arriving earlier than my usual time. Finally, I would have a chance to talk with Samantha. I took a taxi from the station, rushing home. As I got out of the taxi and approached the front door, I heard a voice calling, "Mommy." Thinking Samantha had seen me and was running towards me, I turned towards the voice, only to be shocked. Samantha's voice was coming from inside the storage shed. "Samantha?" In a panic, I'd opened the shed door to find my daughter there, drenched in sweat and sobbing uncontrollably. At her feet lay the burst remnants of a water-filled bouncy ball I had given her. This toy was developed by John when he was still working at the toy manufacturer. I had given it to Samantha, hoping to cheer her up when she first started showing signs of distress. Apparently, she panicked when she realized the door was shut, either throwing or stepping on the ball, causing it to burst. The liquid seeping out of the shed was from this ruptured bouncy ball. The floor was also scattered with Samantha's old clothes. "What happened? Why are you in here?" I hugged my crying daughter and asked her. What she told me then ignited a fury in me, the likes of which I had never felt before in my life. "Samantha said you asked her to look for my jewelry. She's deeply shocked both from being left behind and being locked in." "Locked in?" The door wasn't locked. I thought she would come out on her own. Being suddenly shut in is frightening even for adults. It's not surprising she panicked and couldn't open it. And I've heard about the usual situation. Now I finally understand why Samantha started acting out. My husband would have noticed the cause. After all, he was the cause of it. After we started looking after Lily, John began to favor her, neglecting Samantha. My daughter felt increasingly lonely as John paid attention only to Lily. But Samantha, caring for me and my busy schedule, could only express her feelings in such a way. It seems she also knew Lily was troubled by John's behavior. The photo of them whispering might have been taken while they were discussing this. Samantha really wanted to talk to me about Lily and hoped I could help in some way. However, Samantha didn't have the right words to accurately convey this. Unsure of how to express it to me, Samantha's words to me were hesitant. Yet she cared deeply for Lily, despite feeling lonely herself. What a kind-hearted child she is. After hearing from Samantha, I immediately called John, but he didn't answer. No matter how many times I called, usually he would call back right away, and it was unusual for him not to answer. Something was wrong. Believing this, I reached out to my sister-in-law. During this conversation, I learned a shocking fact. John had told her he was going on a trip with Samantha and Lily. John had contacted my sister-in-law as soon as he found out about my business trip. Sherry is going on a long business trip. During that time, I thought of taking Samantha and Lily on a trip because Samantha might feel lonely. What do you think? My sister-in-law was also busy with work and felt guilty for not being able to spend much time with Lily. John lied that Samantha and Lily wanted to go to a theme park. And my sister-in-law agreed, thinking it would be good for Lily. Of course, I hadn't heard anything about this plan from John. Hearing this, I felt as if the blood had drained from my face. Could John have been planning to leave Samantha alone at home during this trip? I informed my sister-in-law that Samantha was actually at home. When I mentioned that I couldn't reach John, she said she would try calling him herself, and we ended the call. I thought something was off and checked around the house, and I was shocked. There were lots of prepared meals in the fridge, and the water heater for the bath was left on. Could it be that he prepared all this so Samantha could stay alone? That is, John had planned to leave our 5-year-old daughter alone for 4 days with just these arrangements. My sister-in-law managed to reach John, who was apparently at the theme park with Lily, and casually said, "I'll have to hang up. Our turn for the attraction is coming." She also received pictures of Lily alone at the park, confirming Lily's safety. Angry yet relieved about Lily's safety, my sister-in-law and I decided to wait for John and Lily's return. John, perhaps as an alibi, had sent me a picture of Samantha and Lily, which must have been taken previously at our house. My sister-in-law received photos of Lily playing at the theme park. There was even a fake story of the two having fun together to pretend for it. And so John, believing he had fooled us, returned home in high spirits, having completely forgotten about the daughter he left behind. Why did my husband want to go on a trip with only his niece so desperately? Why John wanted to go on a trip only with Lily was beyond understanding. His affection for his niece was one thing, but his actions were abnormal. I wasn't the only one who thought so. Really? What were you thinking? Leaving your own daughter behind to go on a trip with your niece? That's abnormal, sis. Why are you here? I've heard everything from Cher. My sister-in-law burst in out of breath, likely having run here straight from work. Seeing her, Lily left Samantha and ran to her aunt. Mom, Lily, I'm sorry. Then, for the first time, Lily told us everything about what my husband had done. As soon as we started looking after Lily, John began to pay attention only to her. According to what Samantha told me, it appeared so to Samantha. But in reality, it was more distressing for Lily. John had an unusual obsession with taking photos of Lily. At first, Lily agreed to John's request for photos, believing they were to be sent to her mother, and she smiled for the camera. However, over time, John's behavior began to escalate. He started making specific demands for poses, and Lily began to feel uncomfortable. But when Lily once refused and said no, John threatened her, saying he would tell her mother, making it seem like he was blaming Lily for not complying. Lily is a naughty girl for not listening. Maybe I should tell your mom that we can't look after you anymore. She would surely be troubled then. Manipulating Lily's desire not to upset her mom, John continued to take her pictures, and eventually, he took her on a trip, just the two of them. I really didn't want to go on the trip. It was creepy when he held my hand. Hey, Lily, that's not true, right? You used to be happy with me, asking me to pick you up. Hearing this, my sister-in-law yelled, "How old was she, you're talking?" and hugged Lily tightly again. Lily, like Samantha, had been enduring John's behavior, not wanting to worry her aunt, and John had misunderstood this as Lily being fond of him. My sister-in-law tearfully apologized to Lily for not sensing the danger and agreeing to the trip so casually. She regretted her complacency for always having John look after Lily. "I'm sorry, Lily. If only I had been more careful." Lily shook her head in her mother's arms, said in a trembling voice that she never wanted to see John again. John began to panic pathetically at this. "Don't say that, Lily. I just wanted to show you affection. Stay away from Lily from now on." But then my sister-in-law demanded he delete the photos and snatched his phone from him. In his panicked state, however, upon seeing the photo folder, she was lost for words. There was an abnormal amount of photos of Lily saved. Lily's expressions in the photos seemed like forced smiles, but it was clear she was frightened. In retrospect, all the photos John sent never had Lily looking directly at the camera. John must have noticed the change in Lily's expressions too. That's why John only sent photos where Lily's expressions weren't clear, yet he let his desires run wild and took Lily away. Disgusting. I felt nauseated by John's abnormal behavior. My sister-in-law holding the phone tightly seemed frozen in place. We both shielded our daughters behind us, confronting John. There was no way I could forgive him for leaving Samantha behind, and I didn't want him near our daughters ever again. All feelings of affection had vanished in an instant. It's not like that. Listen to me. I love Lily, and of course, I love Samantha too. John continued to make excuses, only further frightening Samantha and Lily. I presented him with the divorce papers I had prepared during his trip, gathered our belongings, took Samantha, and left the house. I couldn't bear to share the same air with him for another moment. My sister-in-law and Lily followed us out. All that followed was my husband's sad screams. Afterward, I took my sister-in-law and Lily to their parents' house and informed them about John's behavior. When I mentioned leaving him with the divorce papers, my in-laws promised to handle everything from there. They assured us they would prevent John from approaching us again. Lily finally seemed to find some peace upon hearing their words. My sister-in-law and Lily decided to stay with my in-laws for the time being, planning to sort out work and school later. Though it likely meant Lily would have to change schools, we couldn't discount the possibility of John lurking around her school route. Samantha and I decided to return to my parents' home too. During John's trip, I had been managing work, household chores, and childcare alone. Thankfully, Samantha was a resilient child, and I felt confident that we could manage well on our own. Living without John, just the two of us, seemed entirely feasible. Those hellish 4 days indeed contributed to my newfound confidence. For a while, we'll live at my parents' house, grateful for their kindness. But I plan to move closer to my workplace before Samantha starts elementary school. We started our new lives, but John was still stuck in the past. Thanks to my in-laws, I was able to finalize the divorce from John without ever having to see him. But he continued to call afterward and even showed up at my parents' house, despite being cut off by my in-laws from any contact with me, my daughter, and the residents of his parents' home. John pathetically tried to seek reconciliation. I can't imagine a life without Sherry and Samantha. His words only instilled fear in me. I asked my parents to contact the police, who came and took away John, who was screaming at our doorstep. He was served a restraining order by the police and finally seemed to understand he was alone. All this destruction was his doing, and it was too late for regrets. I wondered how John, having been a stay-at-home dad, planned to live since then, but that was no longer my concern. Samantha had been down for a while after the incident, but she's finally starting to smile again. Though divorced from John, we still keep in touch with my sister-in-law and Lily, and their smiles are returning too, to overwrite the traumatic memories of the theme park with Lily. We are planning a trip there, just the four of us. I'm looking forward to creating many happy memories for Samantha and Lily.